Neon Entertainment Spotlight.
All right, everyone. Hey, thanks for joining us for another episode of Neon Spotlight. We're joined here by Troy Walker, and thanks for taking some time to chat with us. What's going on?
Not too much, sir. Not too much. About to go home, back to Denver for a few days, and I'm excited about that. Excited to talk to you guys.
So when you go home, what's kind of on the agenda? Do you have like a pecking order of visiting some family, or hitting a favorite food spot or whatever?
Well, I mean, of course, I see, my mom and catch up with friends and stuff like that. And I, make sure I do as many shows as possible. And then also, it's Denver, so definitely try to get some food, green chili based food, as much as possible. And it's also just good to be home, acclimate to high altitude again.
See, I've never been there. So is that a challenge? Like when you get back to the adjustment to the altitude?
Honestly, I've never felt it. I was born and raised there, so I don't know if it's, if I just acclimate faster or something, because it's always been my zero. But no, altitude sickness is for sure a thing. Pretty much, if you ever go, because I believe Buffalo's at about sea level, right? So
what? I'm the worst person to talk about geography. And I so
is that geography?
You might know better.
I don't know if that's geography.
Is it typography? What is it?
It might be typography.
Yeah.
It's probably an offie, but I don't geography sounds wrong. But
right.
But yeah, pretty much if you ever go, because it truly is a mile above sea level. Pretty much anything that makes you feel weird is the altitude. And that's one of the funny things about hanging out there with people who've never been, is weird things will happen to them and they don't know why. But it's always the altitude. So they'll go, I've just been really hungry. And you're like, yeah, altitude. I can't sleep. Yeah, altitude. Like literally everything. Yeah. It literally everything. It's like, yeah, that's the altitude, man.
Well, at least
I'm waking up early. Altitude.
Yeah. Altitude.
Yeah. I feel sick. Altitude.
So did you cut
one of these days
we were talking about altitude in Denver?
Well, one of these days somebody's gonna truly be sick and have like a true problem, and people are gonna blame it on the altitude, and it's not gonna be, and it's gonna be sad.
Right.
No,
my leg's falling off.
Altitude.
It's got something.
Yeah,
with
it's probably the altitude. I mean, I cut my teeth in stand up. I started doing stand up there when I was in undergrad, and I just kept doing it all through law school. I went to law school after undergrad, and I never stopped doing stand up. I like to give myself the challenge of doing a thing you shouldn't be doing another thing during, but doing it anyway.
I mean, I've spoke to a lot of people, and that is probably one of the most obscure combinations I've heard so far, is stand-up in combination with law school. Did you end up finishing law school?
Oh, yeah. I'm licensed in the state of Colorado, yeah.
If I ever get in trouble in Colorado, I would like to have you as my attorney, because if you're in a bad position,
that'd be cheap.
You certainly want somebody in your corner that can make you laugh.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know that. My first advice to you would be to get a better lawyer. That would be my first legal advice. You're like, you should probably get somebody that knows what they're doing. In my professional
you sit down, you're like, okay, well, here we go. The clock's running.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep it short and sweet.
Yeah.
Get a better lawyer. That'll be $50, please.
Yeah, I feel like having a comic for a lawyer, you would probably come to that conclusion yourself relatively quickly. If I feel like, I walk in looking like I'm in a new Weekend at Bernie's, and you'd be like, I feel like I should probably get a new lawyer.
Can we
move
for an adjournment, please?
Yeah, just a Hawaiian shirt and mirrored sunglasses. You'd be like, I don't think this is who I should put my safety in.
That's what, yeah. I'm kind of one
eating
of my,
a burrito.
Right. Like, hold on, I've got a burrito in the top pocket of my Hawaiian shirt. Let me just take off my neon sunglasses so I can find it. One of my like trademarks is the neon knockarounds. I don't know if you're familiar with those.
The neon what?
Brand of sunglasses, knockarounds. They're cool. Yeah, man, they're cool. They're like basically like $30 a pop, and they look kind of like Ray-Bans, and they have polarized lenses and this and that, and they're called knockarounds because they're not that expensive, and if you break them, you're not losing a ton of money about it. You just go online and order another one. And no way am I I'm endorsing them by getting any kind of monetary compensation. I have to make that disclaimer, I believe.
Do you honestly have to make that disclaimer?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you if that was like a thing that you actually had to do.
Company. No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was going to ask that.
No one pays that much attention to me, I don't believe.
Well, I still wanted to check, but that wouldn't apply to me. I could probably make all the endorsements I want.
Right, go for it. Yeah, okay. So, what kind of
what would I endorse?
Do you run?
No. I'm a mirrored sunglasses guy. I like mirrored Ray-Bans.
All right,
that's my go-to. Mirrored Ray-Bans. I like to look.
The ones with the color to them.
The ones with the what?
To them, or you go like straight, like there's some that
straight like mirrored. Yeah, mirrored. Like like I look. Yeah, I look like if Black Dennis the Menace was a cop. That's kind of how I look. You're like, oh, what if Dennis the Menace was black, and when he grew up, he worked for Highway Patrol in a very casual role.
I'm trying to draw that picture, and it's starting to come through. Yeah, I think I'm starting to get that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I know you mentioned something in one of your Neon. You wrote a blog for Neon not too long ago, and you mentioned something about like the Dennis the Menace thing. What have you? Where have you been lately? Like, what kind of places have you been playing? Like, you've been doing mostly. I've been doing mostly colleges. Are you doing? I think I saw something about the Comedy Store. So what's been new to you?
I've been doing. I perform all over. I mean, I've had a few colleges. I have a college coming up in Joplin, Missouri next week. I've been kind of just in LA the last few months. It's pilot season is winding down, and during pilot season, I kind of can't go to many places because they'll get mad at me if I'm not in town when like an opportunity to get on a show would come up. So I've just been kind of hanging out here and going, doing shows and stuff around town. But I did, before the year was out, I did a club in San Antonio and a club in Indianapolis, and I did a college in Southern Illinois. And yeah, just kind of going all over the place. If I'm back home in Denver, I do stuff at the Comedy Works in Denver, Colorado, and also other independent shows and stuff around town. And I'll try to do some of the stuff in the mountains and things like that too. So whoever's paying me, I will go wherever I'm being paid. Is basically the place I would perform.
Is there a pretty big comedy scene in Denver?
Honestly, there's a huge comedy scene in Denver. Probably one of the I objectively is one of the best comedy scenes in the country. It's probably in the top 5.
Have you seen it getting more laughs since weed was legalized?
No, because here's the thing about weed crowds. Weed crowds are slow. So
really?
if you have a crowd where they're super high, it's very it's like performing via satellite.
So they laugh on delay.
Yeah, basically you're like, oh, da 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 da, and then it's like a few seconds, and then they catch it. So
I'm picturing the when they have somebody's holding their ear, and they're
right, exactly
via satellite, and they're talking from the Olympics, and and they nod their head a couple times, and then that's right, Dan.
Right, that's the exact that exact that exact thing of oh hey, the altitude's crazy, and then a couple of seconds pass, and then they go, hey. They're very it's a different weed crowds are they're kind of slow. There are a decent amount of people who are going to be high in any show, but
right,
an all weed crowd,
no good.
Not your friend. Not your friend.
Get a laugh track in the background.
It's just like this delay. You're performing on delay. You're what's happening?
Or for a TV show, maybe you just get those cards, people on the side that say laugh, and they're like, oh yeah, I forgot I was supposed to laugh.
Yeah, you probably don't want to be making them read anything. It's probably not. You probably don't want to give them more tasks.
Right. You might as well be giving them a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, what?
I listen to a bunch of different podcasts from different comedians, and some of them have talked about how they've had to basically look at security and be get this person out of here. They're either too drunk or they're heckling or they're just being an idiot. Is that something that you've ran into at all?
Hecklers or weed hecklers?
Just
weed hecklers
where
don't exist.
I got to get this person out of here.
I've definitely been on shows where people were getting thrown out of the crowd, but I've never personally asked the venue to throw anybody out. That's not really. I don't know. The place I came up doing stand-up in Denver was not before I was working the club. We used to do this open mic in a dive bar on East Colfax Avenue in Denver, Colorado, which most people probably listening to this do not know what East Colfax is, but picture the sketchiest big street in any town, and then imagine it worse.
Okay.
So
Colfax
at the time, East Colfax at the time was pretty sketchy, and there was no door guy. So at this bar, so it would be packed every night with people there for the comedy show, but it would be hipsters and also drunks and drug addicts and all these people, all these grotesques would be in this bar, and so when stuff would happen, you just dealt with it. You just were on stage, you just did whatever you could to survive. So I've had all kinds of stuff happen to me on stage, but I think because of coming up like that, my response to it is different than a lot of people. I always just kind of roll because that just wasn't a thing. So I've had things thrown at me. I've had sorry. yawning.
No,
I've had
we're on different time zones here.
Right. I've had things thrown at me. I've had and was like, just dealt with it. Like you engage with it, you shut it down. But as far as like kicking somebody out, I personally have never done that. I have been on shows where the venue threw people out who were doing things, but I didn't have. That said, I was very happy that they were throwing them out.
For sure. You're like, oh, okay, somebody please give me, some help here. Do you do a lot of crowd work in your sets? Yeah.
I don't do a ton. I do some.
Yeah.
Usually when certain things pop up, or sometimes, you're doing a joke, and then occasionally, especially if the show is going very well, you'll think of something else to go with that joke, or some other thing to tag it with, or something like that, and then you'll do that, and then you might go off on this other tangent, or you might see somebody dress crazy in the crowd, or something could happen that makes noise, and you have to acknowledge it, or So usually, if I'm doing it, it's reactive, less like going out into the crowd, like to just to talk to them.
Somebody out, you're like, what's your name?
Right. I can do that, but I don't typically do that. I've spent a lot of time writing my jokes, and I want people to hear them.
Right. The jokes that you spent time on, absolutely.
I spent a lot of time figuring out how to make these dumb jokes funny. And
you go and
I want people to enjoy
them out at like smaller like open mic nights or whatever to kind of like hone your set, or how do you go about that?
Oh yeah, so if you come up with a new idea, the only way to see if it's any good is to go put it on stage, So I look at it kind of like, when you watch like those guys do motocross, and you go, man, that guy, look at that flip he did on that bike, It's kind of like, well, what was the first one like? What was the first time when somebody decided to do that? How'd that go, right? It's kind of like, you just kind of got to go out there and like see if you can stick the landing.
Smaller clubs are like your foam pit, basically.
Right. Yeah. Even the big venues at a certain point, you throw it out there and you see, and people kind of like seeing like jokes fly for the first time.
Right.
It's kind of fun, and especially if they know it's something you're going to try, then I think they get the added fun of kind of thumbs upping, thumbs downing some new thing,
right.
So you obviously you don't do a whole bunch of new stuff on an important show, but you might try a thing you wrote on a plane, or a thing about the town that you've noticed that day, or something like that, especially for colleges, because they're in all these cool little towns that you otherwise would never have seen, So
yeah,
a lot of times you'll notice something about it,
and you really like talking about like the colleges. Have you noticed like a different reaction to the colleges versus when you're doing like a comedy club, like as far as like how they react to your jokes?
I definitely think you have to tailor to them a little more. Clubs are very anything goes.
Right.
College is a little less so. It's anything. It's a school, so you're not trying to go up there and do a whole bunch of stuff that the administration is going to be like, whoa, right. And, and also you have to tailor stuff because, you know, the references might be different, you know, and things like that. So, you know, you're always trying to just put on a good show, whatever you have to do to put on a good show. So, you know, sometimes certain college crowds really like crowd work and stuff like that. And it's the way the venue is set up is more for that. So you do that. Whatever it is that's going to give them the best show you can give them is what you do.
Right. You're reading the crowd, not necessarily even crowd work. You just got to kind of feel it out.
Oh yeah, you read them. Yeah. You know, and sometimes you'll be like, oh, they're getting. If I just tell them jokes, they'll get bored. So, hey kid, what's your major? You know. Oh yeah, that's dumb, and then everybody's like, yeah. You know, it's just it's whatever, you know, it's going to be fun for them.
I'll never forget. I was watching. Are you familiar with the movie PCU with Jeremy Piven?
Yeah, actually, I am. I like it.
Show. Yeah. It
was
like one of those
Spade,
classics, I guess. Yeah, like cause I grew up in the 90s. Like there's that scene where he's giving out exams, or not exams, term papers. And the one guy comes in and he says, he's like, yeah, what's your major? And he says, Sanskrit. It's like, you major in a whatever 1,000-year-old dead language. He's like,
right.
Yeah. He's like, here you go. Here's a paper on Latin. And then the next guy comes in. He's like, physical education. He's like, you're majoring to be a gym teacher? Get out of my room. Get out of my room right now. And
right.
That just stuck with me. It's like one of the funniest things. And I could imagine, like, you know, if you're in that situation, you can kind of play off some of that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. And, like, you know, and also it's, you know, I loved college. So, like, and that was one of the things I loved about it was all the different stuff I got to try and stuff like that. So, for me, it's really fun to be like, you know, hey, what are you doing? What are you up to? Did you want to do that? Are your parents making you do that? Yeah. Are you going to stick with that? You know?
By choice?
Right, yeah. Oh, theater. Well, look what happens. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I started as I majored in occupational therapy. And then I ended up changing degrees so many times, I felt like Van Wilder. And I ended up graduating with a degree in video/media production. So there, you know, people take, you know, sometimes a scenic route.
Oh yeah, no, I did. I was a theater major for 2 years, even though it took me like 1 year to figure out I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
But it was only just because, honestly, I wasn't mature enough for it. Like, it required a lot to go from high school, like, slacker dude to being, like, legit, like, taking things like acting seriously, because you do so many things as a theater major that it feels like your friends would make fun of you for. You know, it's like all the like red leather, yellow leather, like the you know, talking the dictation exercises and, you know, breathing exercises and all this, you know, all this stuff. And I think I was just too immature for it at the time. And yeah, that's why when I think about it now, it's like, I just want to. Can we just do acting? Why do we have to do all this other stuff? You know.
No,
and
like when I was going to school for film and video, like I'm like, why am I shooting something on this old ass camera, and then I'm taking the film, I'm getting it developed, I'm cutting it apart, taping it together, when I've got this computer over here that I can put a chip in right out of the camera and just skip this step. I'm like, this just sounds idiotic. And then, you know, you kind of look back at it, you're like, oh, okay, they're just trying to show us the process and where it came from and
right.
Developmental, you know, okay, sure, I got you, that's fun, yeah. But I think
right.
Look back on it, you're like, all right, well, at the time it seemed so foolish, but now I'm like, I'm kind of glad that they showed me that.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah, it literally was just I wasn't at 18. I was not mature enough for it because you were doing a lot of stuff that made me want to put myself into a locker. But and I also didn't want to build stuff. Well, yeah, I think like, you know, I just really liked scene work. Like I really liked doing scenes, but I didn't really want to build sets. I didn't really want to, you know, the commitment to do plays it's a ton of work. It's so much work to like, it's rehearsing for months every night and not, you know, it's not like goofing off with your friends from high school as soon as you get out of class. It's not like all that stuff. It's like you get out of class and you go over to the theater building and you're there until 10 o'clock and you're going to do that for 2 months. It's that, like, that's what it is. And I didn't want to mature enough for it. So I switched to political science. You know, that immature field.
And that says a lot about our society.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Political science.
Missing he felt, and it's like it almost reminded me when you were talking about that in the one video I saw of you, when you were saying like you missed the fact that Obama would he would touch every single base, like white people,
right.
Going through the whole number. And it reminded me of when I was a kid and I was like reading through the manual of a microwave. Like I was setting up a microwave my mom just bought, and I was just probably like 13 years old, and I was helping her set it up. And I was like looking at it, and they were telling you the things you can't put in there. And one of them was wet newspapers. And I looked at my mom, and I was like, why would that be in the manual? She goes, it means somebody did it before.
Oh, yeah.
And when you were going through that whole thing with Obama, and you could probably fill in it because it's your joke, not mine. But it reminded me of that to a T.
Well, yeah, I mean, the joke is just about how when he would do a speech, like every speech, he would always list like every subgroup of Americans. So he would always go, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Indian, and you're like, yeah, everybody. We get it. Like, come on, what? But that I actually, looking back on it, yeah, I get why, I get why he did it. He did that because, it was probably because of us, that, if he didn't do that, then people would be like, well, what about these people? So, he didn't say, so I get that. But yeah, so I switched from, the very serious theater major that was a lot of work and that I wasn't mature enough for, and I switched to political science where, it was just paper airplanes. It was like Gremlins in there. That's not true. See what I mean about the references? I wonder how many college kids are going to know exactly what I'm talking about with the Gremlins. But it was, it was moving and shaking. We were, playing cards. It's not true. But that I just found out that worked for me better. And I really liked all that stuff. I really liked politics, and I really liked, I really liked politics and policy. I really liked thinking about policy. And that's why I ended up going to law school. And now comedy. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to live.
That's all.
I'm all over the place,
though, right? Just
I'm all over the place,
in front of the other. Do you think you'll ever, at some point, go back to like being a lawyer or having some kind of job in law, or do you think that?
No, I think if that happens, it's because things have gone very badly.
All right. Well, I'm going to keep an eye on you and make sure you still have dates on your website and everything like that. And, And then if,
please do.
You end up being a lawyer, we'll sit down, we'll talk again, and I'll see if we can find you a path back to comedy because I know nothing about how to do that. But I mean, if I could be in the corner, I'm gonna do it.
Thank you. I have no intention of going back to anything else. This is way more fun. You get to fly around the country, you get to travel, you get to go to cool little towns that you've never been to. You get to go to clubs. You get to live in LA and audition and and write stuff and do stuff with your friends and a lot of them go to brunch.
I like little towns. Yeah, like when I get sent out in little towns and things like that for work, I always look forward to it because there's always something about it that amuses me.
I think it's a blast. But I think I'm such a comic that I like the rent a car drive through the middle of the night thing. I like that. I like flying into Chicago, renting a car and driving 3 hours. I enjoy it. So for me, it's the whole process is great. That's part of what's cool about those small towns, because so many of them have all these extra cool things about them, that it's like, yeah, okay, like LA, New York, and Chicago are cool, but when you go to those, it's usually people are like, you got to go to this restaurant or you got to go to this museum. But when you go to like a small town, it's a cooler thing, inevitably. Like Norfolk, Nebraska, well, Norfolk, I have to be careful to say it, even though it's spelled Norfolk, but it's Norfolk, is where Johnny Carson is from, and they have a Johnny Carson museum. They have like a museum that's a museum of Johnny Carson, and that's really cool. Or like I did Knox College in Illinois, and they had a Lincoln Douglas debate at that college, and they have like a whole Abraham Lincoln Douglas thing. That kind of stuff I really dig. Or like what did I do? Saratoga Springs, New York. I did a college comedy festival thing at I believe it was Saratoga Springs, right outside Albany, right? And that town was like a snow globe. It was so beautiful, and all the kids were so hyped, and they had this auditorium where they were doing it, where it was like I felt like Chris Rock.
Yeah,
it was the best. Yeah, it was like this like in a round thing, and it was packed, and like we were doing this theater, and they were so hyped that we were there, and they were having, and like the kids who'd organized it walked out like conquering heroes. Like they walked out like, we're gonna start the thing, and all the kids were like, yeah. That's the only, you get to do all that stuff because you get to tour around the country, and it's the best thing ever. And so you're like, I can't believe they're paying me.
Yeah. No, I could see that like being really attractive. Just like you said, you're dipping into markets that maybe they don't always have, somebody like you that's going to be entertaining there, and they appreciate it so much because they kind of feel as if they're off the map a little bit. And I can see how that would be a pretty big rush.
Right, yeah, but it also, they do this comedy festival there every year, and it's like, they have like improv people, and then like in college improv teams from everywhere. You may have heard of it. It's in your neck of the woods and everything, but for people listening, it's like college improv teams, and then at night they have like touring stand-ups come close, and so the kids are super into comedy, and they're super, well versed in comedy, and it's like a thing that they're just pumped for, and it's
that's cool.
It's a blast. And I like travel. I like airports. I like planes. I especially like hotel rooms, and I love rental cars. So for me, it's very fun to do this.
Is there another one of those coming up this year?
Another one of the College Comedy Festival?
Yeah.
Right, I believe so, but I think I know they do it every year, but I think last year I did it. It was February, so it's probably past.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it was fun to drive to upstate New York in February. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it could be interesting. That's for sure.
No, it really was. It was good.
Not too bad, but it was. We got a little bit of a storm, but it kind of melted out, and now we're getting to get another little one. It's just the weather's been pretty wonky this winter.
Right.
People get hit with a little bit, like I said, and it'll melt. I mean, I think that's kind of the case across the country.
Right. I mean, I remember
on the East Coast.
It started snowing. That was a wild trip, man. Because I was only in New York for a few days. But when I got there, the show was Friday night, and so I flew into Newark Thursday, and was having dinner in Manhattan with some friends, and my manager called me and told me that I'd gotten a call back for a TV show in LA Friday morning, and it was like, well, I can't do that. And then it was like, and then they were like, oh, okay. Well, they were like, right. Then they were like scrambling to try to figure out what they could do, and then they ended up sending me to the network in New York to tape the audition, but they gave me extra scenes. And so I was crashing with my friend who I used to work with in Denver. So like the only person I had to help me work on these scenes was like my buddy that works at a Chinese bank. So like we're working on these scenes until like 4 a.m. And then I had to miss my Amtrak to Saratoga so I could go over to the network, go over to ABC, and then did that. And then we frantically drove from New York City to Saratoga Springs, and it was the best time ever. It couldn't have been. It was one of the best days I've ever had. It was so fun.
Sometimes that kind of chaos ends up bringing up some, good times.
Yeah, we went to a McDonald's on the way that had like some sort of special Big Mac they were trying that was gigantic. It was like some extra large Big Mac or something. I think they discontinued it. I don't know why McDonald's would do that to me, but they did.
Now I'm like, I'm wanting a Big Mac immediately right now after you mentioned.
Yeah, it was some sort of like big. It was like, it wasn't a regular Big Mac. It was a special Big Mac, and it's the only place I ever saw it was on the way to Saratoga Springs. And then like also the show was good, but mostly the Big Mac was what I remember. No, that's not true. The show is great. It was so fun. It was cool. So cool.
Did you do a lot of acting, or is it just something you're looking to get into more, or is that like a direction you're looking to kind of transition into?
It's for sure a direction I'm trying to break into. It's like, the competition's tough. It's just, it's like colleges and stuff. Like it's competition. Everyone wants to do all these cool things. So, I mean, I audition and I try to get better and better and better at acting, and hopefully one of these days, I'll get on a show. But the process is fun, in the meantime.
No, I can imagine. It's kind of like that up and down of it,
Yeah, for sure. It's like that's the thing about being a comic, doing all these things is, what makes it different from a regular job is the up and downs and the looking at your calendar going like, okay, well, I know how I make it to June, but I don't know how I make it to July, and then trusting that that will fill out,
Yeah, no, I get that, because I started a small business, and 11 years ago, and it's just there's kind of peaks and valleys in all of it,
right?
And then just kind of the more you get comfortable with the the whole process, the kind of the less it drives you absolutely insane. Because
right.
I'm sure you've identified with the fact that there's sometimes times where you're going to lose your mind because it's like, all right, last month was amazing. This month, what happened? You know?
Right. Well, I think the key is to not think too far in the future and never think about retirement. Because so you just right now, you know, what makes LA is a great place for that, and it makes it easier because everybody here, LA is Neverland. That's what makes it. Yeah, nobody has the job. Everybody here is like hanging out Wednesday afternoons and like doing, you know. So it's all these like, you know, people in their 30s buying ice cream at 1 o'clock on a Wednesday. You know, it's super loose and like, you know, I remember one time me and my friend was another Neon client, Rob Gleason, were hanging out at this restaurant around the corner, and it was, you know, I don't know, it was like maybe like 1 on like a Tuesday, and the amount of people just walking about, clearly not headed to work.
I see that from
where are we?
Time, and I'm like, oh man, like what do they do? And then I realized, like, to a certain extent, like, I kind of almost live that life myself because I don't have a real strict schedule. I've got to be where I need to be for my clients, and I need to make sure things get done at the office. But like somebody at some point may look at me because they're like, well, why is that guy just walking down the sidewalk right there? What, does he not have to be in an office? And so no, I get
LA is LA, it's Neverland. It's like grown people who are dressed like high school kids. The whole city's like adults dressed like high school kids who go to concerts weekday nights.
I get away with a little bit of that, like wearing jeans, like to, you know, meetings and things like that because I'm in a creative field.
I mean, like backpack, like tiny backpacks, everything. Grown kids, like grown people, like doing what they want to do. You know, they're like, what are those slap bracelets? Like, yeah, dude. You're going to a concert today. You're like, what?
Would be something my clients, if I rolled in and I'm in one of those, they'd probably be like, when does this contract expire?
Yeah, no, it's really, it's super fun. It's really funny. It's like, you know that meme where Steve Buscemi, it's from, I think 30 Rock, where Steve Buscemi is like, undercover at it's like a meme, and it says, how do you do, fellow kids? LA is like that.
Really?
LA is grown people in Star Wars t-shirts. Like, dude, that's what makes it so fun. That's part of what makes it so fun is you don't have to grow up here.
Yeah. Well, it's like James Dean. His quote was that dream as if you'll live forever, live as if you'll die today, kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's pretty much that. Most people didn't know that meant not, you know, saving money, but apparently.
Well, it's got to be tough to save money.
Yeah. Not a lot of IRAs out here.
Right.
Not a lot of 401k.
Right. Well, Trey, this has been a lot of fun. I'm glad we got a chance to chat. You got anything coming up our neck of the woods anytime soon? I'd love to meet up in person if you're going to be in upstate New York or anywhere around there.
I don't have an upstate New York in a while. I don't know of an upstate New York coming up. I might try to make another show. I'm doing a school next weekend or next Wednesday in Joplin, Missouri. And so if you're in Joplin, I don't know when you guys post this, when you post them?
We usually probably get to it the week after. But week if you got anything else that you wanted to talk about that's up and coming, and then also, how do schools get in touch with you if they're they want to bring you in?
Schools want to bring me in. All they got to do is talk to Neon. That's what they do. They talk to Neon. Easy or enough. They talk to Gersh. But mostly they talk to Neon.
Cool.
And they just talk to, call you guys. And I'd love to come to literally any school. Wherever you are,
hopefully
I will happily go.
To UB sometime soon, and then we can hopefully meet up and I can see you in person.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool, Troy.
Well, me, UB.
UB, you know it. They actually just I think their coach for basketball won Coach of the Year for the MAC, for the MAC, and I think they're going to the tournament again. So the basketball program is doing all right. Yeah.
Okay. So what you're saying is they could afford to bring me in.
They should be able to.
You're saying.
Yeah.
They should be able to use that jersey money to pay
Troy
Walker because they should.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't. My college is letting me down.
Yeah. I agree, and they're letting me down as well. So let's not let them do that. I would love to go there. I also didn't get to go to Niagara Falls last time, and I want to.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what stinks about that is I think the people who live in Buffalo take it for granted. They because we've been there so many times when we were kids and stuff, and we forget that it's there, and we should probably stop in at least once a year and check that thing out because it's a marvelous experience, and I think just because it's so close, we're like, we'll see it some other day. And we really only go there when we've got like families from out of town, and then we show them it, and they're like, why don't we go here more?
Right.
So hey, when you're here in Buffalo, I'll take you to the Falls.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Troy, thanks a ton. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me
on the Neon Spotlight. Yeah, and you have a great day, and we'll be in
too.
touch soon. All right.
Sounds good. Great.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Neon Entertainment.